Hello, welcome to the Sut Living Report. Today we have a sad topic to cover, which is the Israeli Hamas war, and it's not going to be pretty. This is not one of the shows I recommend that your children listen to. In fact, I'm going to advise against it because some of the things we're going to talk about are definitely not pretty. I have felt sick since the Hamas attack started, hurt right here. And the more I went into the news, the more I learned. Um, it makes me feel hurt because these are the things I've seen coming. These are the things I don't want to happen. And I'm not talking about the attack. So we will get into that, what I mean by that. As this is a Christian show, I always start with a reading from God's word, and I'm going through First Kings, so I'm just going to share what what I've been reading. This comes from First Kings 19, 1-3. And I should say that this happens after Elijah has already tackled the Baal priests, and they have executed them. Elijah has done this victorious, beautiful sacrifice. He's been mocking the Baal priests, and they were not able to successfully do a sacrifice. He stood alone, and there was 400 on the other side. I want you to think about what it means to stand alone. And 19-1-3 tells us about things we need to think about when people stand alone. Here's what it says. And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and with all how he had slain all the prophets with the sword, 400 of them. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. Basically, we're saying that Elijah ran like mad, and he went as far south as he could to hide. After such a victory, so here's my thoughts. King Ahab, a witness to God's presence at the sacrifice, mentions nothing of God to Jezebel. He knew what she wanted to hear. Or worse, he chose to ignore the presence of God when the sacrifice was offered by Elijah. More likely, it was some combination of the two. Jezebel, acting as queen, then threatens to murder Elijah. Her threat appears in the scripture as a message delivered via messenger. This threat was conveyed in such a manner that Elijah saw death as a very real possible for himself, and he runs. J. Vernon McGee states that this is likely because Elijah had stood alone, exhausted, against 400 of Baal's priests and against all of Israel. He sees Elijah as suffering from exhaustion and overwork. Matthew Henry, the great commentator, also addresses the manner in which Elijah flees as different and not being himself. My suggestion here, take this and learn from it. Look to those in ministry around you. Look at your pastor, your teachers, and your churches, your evangelists, and your missionaries. Are they tired? Are they weary? Do they appear overworked? J. Vernon McGee speaks to the dangers of ministry easily leading to a person being overworked. We need to watch out for those who are ministering to us. We don't want them to feel that pressure. So that's something I think we need to take as a lesson and pay attention. We need to watch for those who are actually watching out for us. We need to, pray for them. And, the big thing when I say this, pray that they have their priorities straight, that God comes first, family second, and then ministry, not before. Thank you for joining us, Rad. Now, we're going to get into a very, very difficult topic, and I say difficult. We're going to talk about what the truth is about jihad. We're going to talk about the truth, what the truth is about many things today. But this part, I, I'm going to keep telling you, I felt sick on Friday, on Saturday. I, yeah, I felt like vomiting most of the week, and because I just what I'm seeing happen around the world is stuff I feel like I've been warning everybody about. And again, I'm not talking about the Israel Hamas war. You're going to hear what I'm talking about in a minute. What we are seeing is stuff that we know will happen and will continue to happen. I think Benjamin Netanyahu has expressed some of what we understand about this is that this war will not end. They can grant peace. The only time Muslims are allowed to ask for peace is when they are weak. That's the only time. If they think they are strong, they are not allowed by their beliefs to ask for peace. And then they're only allowed to ask for peace until they become strong. So a peace with the followers of Islam is not peace, it's peace until they become strong. This is difficult, and it's difficult for many people to ask and understand, but can you trust someone who only is peaceful until they become strong? And my statement is absolutely not, because when they become strong, they're not going to tell you. They're just going to attack, which is what we just saw. All right, so what happened in this attack? Hamas used many things to come up in this attack. They attacked with the remote control things. They actually have videos of this. And then they attacked in various different ways. They attacked the wall. They invaded. It's thought some tunnels may have been used. There's a lot of things that happened all at once. This is a highly organized attack, which is not something we normally expect from Hamas. We don't expect them to think like a general. But apparently at this time, they have someone who is acting like a general. This was a sick. Again, I don't have a good word to describe it. One of the things, I just want to get this out of the way, this is the one thing that's hard to talk about, was what happened to children. And I'm going to share an article I have on this. I'm going to put the link in the chat room so everybody can share this. And like I said, it's not an easy thing to share. So this link I'm putting in the chat room, I think it should be shared everywhere. Put it out on social media. Please put this out because people are afraid to get the truth out. Sometimes you have to see the truth. You have to hear the truth to know it's real. Get this out. This topic, this article is written by Tyler O'Neill for the Daily Signal. And now I will say this. The Daily Signal is not my favorite source. It's not my number 1 source, my number 10 source, my number 20 source. It's down the bottom of the barrel for me. But I do like this article in the sense that it's accurate. It's not a war. It's a massacre. Israeli soldiers show journalists aftermath of Hamas terror. Again, this is by Tyler O'Neill for the Daily Signal. Israeli soldiers reported finding the bodies of babies, some of them decapitated, in the ruins of a town ravaged by Hamas terrorists in their surprise attack on Saturday. Israeli Defense Force soldiers took dozens of foreign journalists Tuesday to Kfar Aza, a town about a mile and a half southeast of the Gaza border. Journalists surveyed the devastation with explosions and artillery fire occurring in the background. It's not a war, General Itai Verov, head of the IDF's Depth Command, told reporters. It's not a battlefield. You see the babies, the mothers, the fathers in their bedrooms, in their protection rooms, and how the terrorists killed them. It's not a war. It's a massacre. Nicole Zedek, an I-24 news reporter, said that the IDF commander told her they found the bodies of 40 babies some of whom had been beheaded. Earlier Tuesday, the IDF reported having regained control over the border along the Gaza Strip, roughly 72 hours after Hamas terrorists blew through sections of the barrier and launched the invasion early Saturday morning. Hamas militants attacked Israel on the last day of the Jewish festival of Sukkot, as well as the Sabbath day of rest, and the 50th anniversary of Yom Kippur War. The terrorists slaughtered over 900 Israelis, including about 250 at a music festival, and kidnapped more than 100. There is a comment here that in some way this is our 9/11. This is a horrible, horrible event. There's no easy way to look at it. It is horrible. Now, let's look at the reasoning behind the attack. Surah 5:20. And when Moses said to his people, "O my people, remember the grace of Allah on you when you have made the prophets among you, and he made you kings, and he gave what you did not give anyone of the world." Who are we talking about? Moses said to his people, "O my people, remember the grace of Allah. He made some prophets among you, made you kings, and gave you what he did not give anyone in the world." What did he give them? Verse 26. He said, "So surely it is forbidden to them 40 years. Oh, okay. We're talking about the land. Allah says he gave them the land. Surely it's forbidden to them for 40 years. What happens after the 40th year? Who takes possession of the land? It's not Moses, because Moses has to stay behind. It's Joshua. So the Quran claims that Allah gave this land to the Jews. It's right here, people. Surely it's forbidden to them 40 years. They will be lost on the earth, do not grieve on the transgressing people. On the 41st year, that land was given to them. That's what he's saying. Surah 247. O children of Israel, remember my grace, which I graced on you, and I preferred you above the worlds. Oh. So according to Islam, the children of Israel are graced above all else. Surah 122. O children of Israel, remember my grace, which I graced upon you. I have favored you above the worlds. This is the part that starts to get me sick. I don't like, there's a lot of times I'd rather be wrong. When you talk about things like jihad and Hijrah, and you look at the doctrines behind them, the belief structures behind them, you want to be wrong. But this is why I do so much research, to make sure I'm right. And being right is not always an appetizing thing, is my best way to put it. When sadness comes with being right, it hurts. Surah 2, 193. And engage in war with them until there be no sedition, and the religion be to Allah. So if they desist, so there will be no transgression except on the unjust. This war will not end. This jihad is something that is planned forever to not end. Hi, Nicodemus. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Surah 2, 2:16. War is decreed to you. This is Allah saying this. And it is hated by you. Perhaps you may hate something. And it is good for you. Perhaps you love something. And it is evil for you. Allah asked them to do evil things. Does that make Allah Satan? Sure sounds that way to me. And Allah knows you, and you do not know. Allah knows and you do not know. Surah 2, 2:18. Surely those who believed and those who emigrated, Hijrah, that is the word Hijrah, and performed jihad for the sake of Allah, those hope for Allah's mercy, and Allah is forgiving, merciful. Surah 8:72. Surely those who have believed and emigrated, Hijrah, and performed jihad with their money and their lives for the sake of Allah, and those who gave asylum and helped, those are friends one to another. And those who believed and did not emigrate, you owe no duty to or protection at all until they emigrate. And if they seek help from you in the religion, so your duty is to help them, except against the people with whom you have a covenant. And Allah sees what you do. Surah 8:74 and 75. And those who believed and emigrated, Hijrah, and performed jihad for the sake of Allah, and those who gave asylum and helped, those are the true believers. They will receive forgiveness and generous provisions. Allah is going to provide for those who emigrated to perform jihad. In Israel, they did not, in the quote, Islamic controlled areas known as Gaza, we'll do this way, the Gaza Strip, the Muslims emigrated into Israel. They left their safe haven, went into Israel, and performed jihad. We're going to get more into emigration. 75. And those who believed and afterwards and emigrated and performed jihad with you, so those are of you. And those who are united by the wombs, blood relatives, are preferred to each other in the book of Allah. Surely Allah knows all things. Surah 9:20. And those who believed and emigrated and performed jihad for the sake of Allah with their money and with their lives of the highest degree with Allah, and those are the triumphant. Now, Muslims in Israel claim to be Palestinians. But people, you need to know that Romans created the term Palestine to insult the Jews. The word means land of the Philistines. I have taught my students this. When I was teaching, I taught this every year. Palestine means land of the Philistines. Believe it or not, it used to be in textbooks. Very, very important thing for students to know. Very important. If you think about it that way, if we considered, which is not, that the land that we're talking about was the land of the Philistines, then there should not be an end to this war. However, the Philistines show up early in the Bible during Abraham's day. Think about this. They made a covenant. This is Genesis 21:32. They made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up and Pichol, the chief captain of the host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. This is a people that began in what is now called in a country called Crete today. They moved to Egypt. They got kicked out. Then they moved to the shoreline of the Mediterranean by Israel. Samson deals with them. King David deals with them. These are Greeks. Crete, people from Crete. They're called the seafaring people. Arabs didn't come down till Muhammad's time. This is important to understand. We should never, ever accept the name Palestine from anyone. It's a made-up insult to the Jews. So when people call themselves Palestinians, we should say, are you Jewish?
If I could just interject on that for a second, brother. Yeah. I understand exactly what you're saying. I really do. And I believe exactly what you're saying. However, my position, my point is this. Fine. If they want to say they're Canaanites, they want to say they're Amorites. Hell, if they even want to say they're Philistines, what does the Bible say that should be done to these people? In other words, they're claiming to be the people that are sowing the seeds of their own destruction. So I'm okay with that. I give them their own destruction if they wanted. But you're absolutely right. They came in later, especially the Muslims. They came in much, much later. Hell, you could even claim that a lot of these Muslim families, let's say they can trace their heritage back to the conquests in 700 AD. Then a lot of them would be Latin or Byzantine, Greek Christians, because that was who was in the area. Do you see what I mean? Okay, but
Yes.
This whole concept of that they were there, okay, is from the whole time. Okay, fine. If they were, then they were Canaanites. If they were Canaanites, they were destroyed. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? Okay, they want to say they're
it's a good
Jesuites, whatever. Then they were destroyed. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? But yeah, but
yes,
no, I get the point.
They're
Totally
asking for their own destruction, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
By
I'm sorry to interrupt
claiming
you.
this title. That's a good
on.
point. Yeah, it is a good point. I like the point. I think it's important. Just trying to get my mouse back. I don't think I have much. Who are the Philistines? Amos 9:7. So it's not just my words. We're going to the scriptures. Amos 9:7. Are you not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, says the Lord? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, which is Crete, and the Syrians from Ker? Okay, think about that. All right, so this is actually recorded in the Bible, Amos 9:7. So when you're looking for this source, I mean, this is what I'm telling people to do. Look it up, use the sources, show them the sources. All right, we've got too many people who are playing the game of being knowledgeable and not getting the facts out. All right. You want this? Anybody wants this information? Please request it. I will share it. You can email me. I'll give this out. BEREAN_research@yahoo.com. I will send you this small PowerPoint. My goal here in what I'm talking about here is to get these facts out. We need to make sure people understand what that word means. We have too many ignorant people using this word incorrectly. Palestine is land of the Philistines. We have too many people. Here's the other problem I have with the word Palestine. And I'm just going to skip out. So just hold on a second. Stop sharing. So my biggest problem nowadays with that terminology, if you call yourself Palestinian, you're starting from a point of misinformation. You're starting from a point of propaganda. It is not accurate. So your intention is to misinform those around you about who you are. You're misinforming people about your heritage. You're misinforming people about the real truth about who you are. That's extremely important to start. That's a starting point, and we have to look at that as extremely important. Now, if that's where we're starting, and this is what I was just had this discussion with somebody today, that we have to look at, that is the starting point. We haven't even gotten into the war. What we did was just look at the importance of emigrating before jihad. Now, you can go to the website, and I'm going to put this link in. I'm going to ask people to please share this link out, read it like mad. I'm going to ask people to do everything they can to get this information out. Send it to your local news place. Send it to wherever. I'm asking this because it explains problems around the world this week. This is what makes me sick. This is one chapter in this book, The Cancer of Civilization Jihad. One chapter on the Hijrah is in this book. And I can't seem to get the... All right. I don't know what's going on with my background, but I'm trying to work on that. All right. So let me tell you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Hijrah. And I'm not going to try and read everything here, but I think it's important to understand some important sources. This is why I put out the secret doctrine of Hijrah before jihad. Is why I mentioned it. Hijrah is a required move, migration. The original intent of mention of Hijrah is you move from a non-Islamic country to an Islamic country. That's the intent. That's the intended purpose. That's what they state. Is that what's being done? And the answer is no. What am I saying when I say no? If you read Islamic sources, it says they don't want you to go to a Western country or a non-Islamic country. Let me read you some of the reasons for this. When I started looking at Islam Question and Answers website, an online resource where Muslims and non-Muslims ask questions about Islam, questions that are supposed to be answered by knowledgeable Islamic clerics, I found they had answered the question, can Muslims settle in Kafir countries for the sake of a better life? This is what they said. In the Sunnah, the Prophet said, I disown every Muslim who settles among the mushrikeen, the non-Muslims. This is Abu Dawood 2645. Of course, it's Sahih. According to this manner of thought, living in Dar al-Harb is wrong for Muslims. Also, it's not acceptable to live in non-Islamic communities in Muslim lands, according to their prophet. However, the author of that article says this. Rather, we should say that each Muslim has his own unique set of circumstances and his own ruling that applies to him, and each person is accountable for himself. If he is able to practice his religion in the Muslim country in which he lives more than he can in a Kafir country, then it's not permissible for him to settle in a Kafir country. We took in 120,000 Afghanis who were able to practice their religion in their own country. According to this, they weren't allowed to come here. Keep that in mind. This article continues. But if it is the other way around, that it is permissible for him to settle in a Kafir country, subject to the condition that he is confident that he can resist the desires and temptations to be found there by taking the precautionary measures prescribed in Sharia. Ooh. What is he talking about? Organization. They are to organize. They are to be kept separate. They are not to mingle amongst the mushrikeen, the kafirs, the kufar. Okay. Zakira al-Ansari al-Shafa'iyah said in his book Azna al-Mutalib, it is obligatory to migrate from the Kafir lands to the Muslim lands for those who are able to do that, if they are unable to practice their religion openly. Are Muslims allowed to practice here openly? Pretty much. In most Western society, they are allowed to practice openly. Think about this. So they're safe here. In most Islamic countries, they're safe to practice their faith. But how many Muslims actually know what their faith is? That's another problem. If they don't know Arabic, most of them have no clue as to what they believe, because they're not allowed to know what they believe, because, again, they'd be reading the Quran in their own language, which they're not allowed to do. Problematic. How do you learn? You have to know Arabic. What, you can't trust someone to translate for you? Pretty bad. So why are Muslims coming to non-Muslim countries? What they call Dar al-Harb, if it is forbidden. Is this merely a smokescreen? Are the very words quoted above only for a select few? Think about that. Were the only select few allowed to come? Two hadith passages state what Muhammad said to answer this question. I charge you 5 of what Allah has charged me with: to assemble, to listen, to obey, to immigrate, and to wage jihad for the sake of Allah. This wording implies the migration for the purpose of jihad is not only okay, it's commissioned by the Prophet of Islam, but is this only the only citation? Now, the surahs I read earlier from the Quran, Surah 874, 875, Surah 2, 218, Surah 872, there are more. The hadiths also solidify the purpose of Muslim migration to non-Islamic lands, or what is called Dar al-Harb. Here's one from Aisha. This is from Sahih Muslim. Aisha reported that the Messenger of Allah was asked about migration, again, the Hijrah, whereupon he said, there is no migration after the conquest of Mecca, but jihad and sincere intention. When you are asked to set out for the cause of Islam, which means you're going out for jihad, you should set out. Well, I mean, do you want to start a war in your own yard, or do you want to go someplace else and have the war? Our state departments around the world, our foreign service executives, what are they, stupid? Don't they read the Quran and understand it? That this is, how can they accept some of these things? Now, when I'm saying I'm getting sick and seeing what's going to happen, they're allowed to come here for the purpose of jihad. That's why Muslims are allowed to come here. Again, I'll recommend the piece I put in, copy, paste it, send it, share it. I'm going to recommend this particular book, The Cancer of Civilization of Jihad. You'll find it in there. There's more details. Again, I'm sorry this is hard for me to share, but I want you to think. I want you to think about what this means. And I'm going to talk to you about why I'm talking about this. So this week, United Press International was called out by Honest Reporting for its coverage of the Hamas instigated war in Israel. Honest Reporting said UPI published one of the most biased, decontextualized, uninformative reports produced by any mainstream media organization in respect to the topic. Honest Reporting continued from its headline, Israel kills 413 Palestinians over Hamas offensive. Palestine criticized West's double standards. Down to its last paragraph, the article is replete with statements lacking any form of balance or objectivity, as well as claims and assertions that fail to provide readers with a proper understanding of what's currently going on in Israel and Gaza. No, let's not tell the people what's really happening. Let's only talk about the amount killed by Israel. Let's not mention that the people from Hamas killed 41 babies. If I was Benjamin Netanyahu, thank God I am not.
Wait.
I would be very raging.
Paul.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yeah.
hold on. Okay. But here's the problem now. I mean, I'm on the Twitter sphere now. I only got 3 followers. Come on, people, follow me, dude. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what I did before to get followers, but anyway, I got to do it again. Only got 3 followers, but that's okay. Anyway, so now the Muslims and the jihadis, now they're saying, okay, but you said they were decapitated. No, now they're saying that their 40 babies weren't decapitated. They were just burned alive. Okay, so somehow that makes it all better. But evidently now they've shown the pictures, and yeah, so yeah, they decapitated some, but they didn't decapitate all of them, just some of them, okay? So look
This
how
is
you
a
lie.
bad Red.
Look
This
how
is a
you
bad
lie.
This is Red. This is a bad conversation. This
Yeah,
is a
but no, that's what
bad.
they're saying.
That's yeah. No, this is a bad conversation. It's not something.
All
Yeah,
right, I'm just telling you.
yeah. It's a.
Uh-huh.
I warn people about letting kids listen to this, but
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, they're
it's
children. Yes, we know
propaganda.
those
It's
are made.
propaganda. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
propaganda.
propaganda. It's propaganda
Yeah.
put out, and it's the UPI, and the reason I'm picking on UPI and I like Honest Reporting is it points out the bias of the media. Watch who's doing the reporting. MSNBC hired Al Jazeera Network's reporters. You want to see where you're going to find the Muslim perspective, the Muslim Brotherhood perspective on this war? You go turn into MSNBC. You think things are bad with UPI? Listen there. Here's another story that came out this week. It came out this Tuesday. Notice I'm putting these quotation marks up. President Joe Biden announced Tuesday that 14 Americans have been killed in the fighting in Israel. He confirmed more are among those being held hostage by Hamas. Biden said, quote, I've directed my team to share intelligence and deploy additional experts across the United States government to consult with and advise Israeli counterparts on hostage recovery efforts. Really? Really? I mean, is probably one of the most asinine things he could do. He's going to advise them on how to recover hostages. He didn't say he's talking about sharing intelligence. That's about it. He didn't offer them anything to help the Americans either. Think about that. Because as president, I have no higher priority than the safety of Americans being held hostage around the world. Did you send a team there, you idiot? Doesn't even say that. Here's another point. Harvard President Emeritus Larry Summers has been criticizing his former school's disappointing response after Hamas terrorist attack against Israel. I like Larry Summers. Dr. Larry Summers, he says, in nearly 50 years of Harvard affiliation. I've never been as disillusioned and alienated as I am today. Summers began in a post Monday. He continued. The silence from Harvard's leadership so far, coupled with a vocal and widely reported student group statements blaming Israel, has allowed Harvard to appear at best neutral towards acts of terror against the Jewish state of Israel. So our colleges, highly influenced by the Muslim Brotherhood, because he's talking about the SJP, Students of Justice of Palestine, which has an affiliation with Hamas. The Muslim Student Association is the gathering group. This is where they recruit from. They're considered part of the Muslim Brotherhood, but the Muslim Brotherhood here in North America recruits directly from that group into their new higher level brotherhood that gets into and active in ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America, ICNA, the Islamic Circle of North America. I can go on and on. There's like 50 to 60 different organizations right here in this country right now. I'm going to skip this next story. Okay, Canada.
I would interject real quick right here.
Yeah. Yes.
2 words. Remember Benghazi. Benghazi.
Yeah. Yes.
So, don't ever forget.
We have to look at this. Look at this. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, Harvard, they get money, or they got money from Saudi Arabia, you know that, and then they got the NSA group, which is a Muslim Brotherhood front group, and what they're teaching is basically the propaganda. That's all I wanted to say.
They have a Sharia school at Harvard. They have a Sharia school at Yale. By the way, I've offered to debate the president of Yale and the president of Harvard's law school, which they refused to debate me. Who am I, a public school teacher, on the merits of teaching Sharia. Both have refused. They were just too cowardly. All right, I tried. They didn't want to defend their own claims. That's pretty sad. These guys are supposed to be PhDs, right? Okay. How about
did you hear about the letter, or are you going to get to that? The letter that the student organization signed? 32.
I've got some of that stuff, but we'll get to that in a minute. Do you have the information on the letter now? Actually, if you have that, would you read?
Oh yeah, I don't have anything to pull up, but I can tell you exactly what happened. It's totally funny, dude.
Okay.
It's actually good news. It's actually good news.
So I haven't gone back and pulled that one article yet, but I have other stuff that's. Now I'm talking about the Hijrah with this, and that's where I'm going back to. Let me just find that other article I was in. All right. This is what I'm talking about with these articles. This stuff has only happened. Ilhan Omar is here. Why? Because she claimed that her family claimed that they needed a refugee status. What did they do? They came here and they immediately set up a goal of Sharia for this country. That's what Ilhan Omar wants. That's what Rashida Tlaib wants. That's what these Muslims in America state openly that they want. If you have been listening to any of the series that we've been doing on Sharia, you don't want that. You don't want children to be allowed to be married to men at the age of 6 and had sex with when they were fondled till they... I'll leave that. This is what they want. Now, when I should mention, when I say Ilhan Omar, the adulterous, Sharia violating woman. Yes, that is the adulterous Sharia violating woman known as Ilhan Omar. So if you are a Muslim and you are questioning why I'm saying that, please go look up Ilhan Omar's history. You will find out she's an adulterous Sharia violating woman. She is at least female, I can say that much, but She violates the tenets of her own faith for her own good. Now, let me get back to that story I was looking at. Sorry, we got sidetracked. All right. Here's one with Ilhan Omar, now that I'm mentioning her. This story came out 2 days ago. Ilhan Omar condemns Israel's military, the adulterous, Sharia-violating woman condemns Israel's military response to Hamas, saying, solution is negotiated peace. Really? Like it's your choice? The Sharia violator, the adulterous woman known as Ilhan Omar, attacked Israel's response to an unprecedented assault by Hamas in an extensive thread on social media Monday. She's a longtime critic of Israel and advocate for the Philistines. Oh, really? Oh, wait a minute. That would mean, they're Greeks. No. Okay. The Palestinians, what? They're Philistines then. Seem to equate the Israeli victims killed by Hamas terrorists. Really? Just as we honor the humanity of the hundreds of innocent Israeli civilians and 9 Americans who were killed, it was 12. No, it was 14. I'm sorry, 14. We must honor the humanity of the innocent Palestinian civilians who have been killed and whose lives are ended. No one is saying there aren't innocents in Gaza. But that's her highlight, to condemn Israel. Did Israel have an excuse to do this? They didn't have a choice. That's what it comes down to. They had no choice. Now I'm going to move. I'm going to share a screen in just a minute. I just got to. Oh, don't tell me I closed that. All right, so just a second. Come on, recently closed. I don't think I closed it. All right. I probably put it someplace else. There it is. Good. I just got to move it to a different place. This, I'm going to show you a picture from Dearborn, which was tweeted out. And this is not something pretty. Come on. And now it's, all right, let me just share, get the screen wide. And let's try and share the, where is the mouse? Okay. Let me share this screen. This is out of Dearborn, Michigan. In celebration of the attack. Look at the amount of people here. This is because of the Hijrah. This is solely because of the Hijrah. They are here for jihad. Nicodemus asked what I consider an important question, and I'll address it. How are you able to keep all this research up, expose the Muslim violence to the degree, and keep it going? It's not easy. I think when you have a calling on your life where God tells you that you need to do something, you do it. And it's not always pleasant. It's not always fun. But you do it and you find that here's the cool thing. God puts you in connection with other people doing something similar that help you along the way. I've been able to connect with Eric. I've been able to connect with Usama, Gotti. I can name many people that I don't have to do all the work myself anymore. I have friends like Todd Bensman and others that are doing a marvelous job. And, I kind of feel at times like the burden I used to feel to have to do. I feel so many others putting their hands in to share what's actually important. That to me is important because otherwise it would feel overwhelming. So it is something important to ask. Let me keep going here. There are a lot more news stories. In Greece, migrants in Greece were captured on video celebrating after Hamas launched an attack on Israel, killing more than 150 people. Videos show Palestinians and other asylum seekers cheering. The footage published on TikTok was reportedly taken on the eastern Aegean island of Samos, where the Greek government has set up a closed migrant camp surrounded by barbed wire. Sounds like a genius idea. I mean, if you think about it, enclose the camp in barbed wire because these people are cheering the death of what we would consider innocents. I mean, very few that were attacked were actually soldiers. The people did not expect an attack. Babies don't expect to be attacked. Children don't. But if you're following Sharia, yeah, we will be getting into jihad in the future, but doing the review of Sharia. But this is just something. Let's look at what's happening in Sweden this week. Again, this is all these countries I'm mentioning. The only reason why these things are happening is because of the Hijrah, where Muslims have moved into Western countries, and this anti-Semitism hatred has grown. Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson and Ekensson commented on the migrants' hatred of Jews by stating, "I think they can go to Palestine and Gaza. The persons in question, he believes, should lose their right to reside in Sweden." He continued, "It's an excellent example of people who should be able to be deported due to a lack of character. A legislation will eventually be drafted here in the same way as others who are only here to cause trouble in or use Sweden as a political platform, which is what is required when you emigrate for the purpose of jihad." It's actually happening in Sweden. Here's the next story in Sweden. Sunday evening, hundreds of Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslim ethnic groups took to the streets in Malmö to celebrate the weekend's bloody terror in Israel, which has claimed more than 1,200 lives. The celebration by Muslim migrants provoked strong reactions from anti-terrorist voices. It led to the city of Malmö the following day writing a post on Facebook to make a mark against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. See, they got concerned about Islamophobia. Oh, we're the victims. Really? How about Germany? This past Saturday, many Arabs celebrated in Germany an attack on Israel, resulting in hundreds of Israeli deaths. Serious riots broke out after a Palestinian demonstration. Arab youths attacked the police with paving stones and other projectiles. 2 officers were injured. Security forces arrested 40 people, including a ringleader. There was another attack later on Sunday when unknown perps threw a 2.5 kilogram stone from a bridge onto a police car. They were trying to kill the cops. Now let's go back to Israel. IDF struck Gaza University, which has a history of being used as a cover for Hamas terrorism. Islamic University in Gaza has been used as an important center for military power of Hamas in the Gaza Strip for the cultivation and promotion of incitement and terrorism. University had trained operatives in a variety of fields, mainly in the area of intensification, development, and production of weapons, military intelligence operatives. University has also been used by Hamas for conferences aimed at raising funds for terrorist purposes. By the way, the University of California has made a partnership with this university. I think it was I can't remember which one it was now. I'm thinking about it.
You're talking about UC Berkeley and Zaytuna?
Yes, thank you. Was
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. I want you to think about this. I mean, these guys are, yeah. Zaytuna this is again, Zaytuna. You're talking about the professors that are getting on screen and being used to promote hatred and the killing of Jews. That's okay with the University of California. Should tell you something about the people in government over there in California. I almost consider them aliens if they consider that. Again, this is all because of Hijrah, the allowance of Muslims who come to Western countries for the purpose of jihad. Again, this is their belief structure that says their only reason to come to another country, that a kafir country, is for the purpose of jihad. It's in their country, in their books. It's in their sites, their websites that say this stuff. How about Australia? Pro-Palestinian protesters were allowed to chant, "Gas the Jews!" and burn the Star of David in front of Sydney's Opera House on Monday night, while a counter-demonstrator was arrested for attempting to fly the Israeli flag. People are now under fire for allowing the rally to go ahead, while telling Jewish Australians to stay home for their own safety. Think about this. This is the kind of stuff that has been going on around the world, and I'm not even close to addressing all of it. Not even close. It is just so bad. Every day, and I think you're going to see this every single day until this war ends, and probably a long time after it. You're going to be seeing how many Muslims in your area are willing to openly pronounce their support of Hamas. In the United States, well, I'm speaking of that, I know where they are. I just got to go look. And I'll let you in just a second. I heard you come in just a second. I just got to find the article. It's Campus Watch. There was a bunch of, and who came in? I thought I heard somebody come in. All right. Okay. Campus Watch. Here it is. Come on. Here we go. Here's one of them. Columbia University. Professor cheers Hamas's barbarity. Writing in his favorite online resistance propaganda outlet, the Electronic Intifada, Columbia University professor Joseph Mossad is excited about what he calls the Palestinian War of Liberation. He's ecstatic over the shocking success of the Palestinian resistance. How do you resist when you attack somebody? You kill 40 babies, that's resisting, or is that slaughter? And this man is allowed to continue teaching, and that's not considered a violation of ethics. That's expected of every single college educator in this country.
Well, okay, I don't know about that teacher, dude, but yeah, a lot of people are being fired over this. Yeah, there's like this one woman, I forgot where she was, I forgot her name. I could go, I mean, I just heard this on Megyn Kelly's show. They've got over 30,000 signatures, a lot of them from alumni. She's actually an alumnus of this law school. She's like, no, you got to fire this person now. So that person definitely will be terminated, whoever that is, I forgot her name. But can I cut in and just now, just let you know and talk about this? Okay. So, as you all know, there was this letter that was signed by 30 something really bizarre lefty student unions, okay, all right, at Harvard University, Penn State, Caltech, and a bunch of other top 10, top 20 lefty universities, condemning Israel and praising Hamas and the resistance and the the Liberation Front and all this stuff. I mean, it's really nasty. Well, a
Keep
bunch.
going, Red. I got to grab a book. So
Sure.
keep going.
Well, a bunch of CEOs, top 50 companies, came out and said, yeah, and top law firms too, came out and said, yeah, we want the list of all those students who signed that because we're going to blacklist them all. They will never have a job. One woman, okay, one of the head, okay, of one of these organizations that signed that, maybe she was the one that penned it, I don't know. She's a third-year law student at Harvard. Think about how much money was spent on her education, okay? Third-year law student at Harvard. Oh, she also went to Berkeley, I believe, as well. But anyway, third-year law student at Harvard. She had an associate's position right out of graduation at one of the top law firms in the country. Something like 200 grand a year starting out, right? Okay. She's an intern there
Yes.
now, but she was offered the associate's position. That is like unheard of. Okay, if you just graduated from a mediocre, my brother-in-law graduated from Northwestern Law School. He graduated top of his class. He was never offered an associate's position right out of law school. You know what I'm saying? So this is something unheard
Yes.
of. Okay, all right. Anyway, so yeah, so all of a sudden, this law firm, they're like, nope, we're pulling that yank. It's gone now. Goodbye. And all these CEOs, they're on Twitter and they're talking about, they're like, and people are criticizing them. And these CEOs are like, these are CEOs of big financial firms, big law firms, and they're like, no, we're not going to hire
Well,
any anti-Semites or supporters of terrorists. Okay, I'm sorry. Goodbye. Go away. Good luck with you ever
well, I'm
finding
going
a
to
job.
read a
What?
big
What?
long list now. When you're done,
Right.
I'll read a big
Right.
long list of college professors.
Right. Well,
This
anyway,
is long.
just to get back on this one guy, okay, the CEO of this big financial firm, actually responds to a bunch of these reporters, and he actually says, "Well, good luck with any of them finding a job other than McDonald's manager, and I wouldn't even hire them for that. We're done with this." But no, a lot of these professors now that have come out with this crap, they are now getting fired. Okay, seriously, no, they are in serious trouble because you don't understand. What Hamas did, not even Nazi Germany did. They did not sit there. Now, true, they did the same thing that they did and worse, but they didn't film it. They didn't celebrate it. They didn't send it out for all the world to say, look, this is a good thing, and we're praising our God for it. This must be destroyed completely and totally, without hesitation, without reservation. We just destroyed ISIS and now we got this. No, it has to be destroyed completely. And I'm sorry, with all due respect to Steve and his Christian friends out there in Gazastan, I'm sorry, dude. Put it under siege for 6 months. Let them starve themselves out. And until every Hamas member surrenders or is
They
killed,
won't.
the siege is never lifted. Eventually, they'll all starve themselves to death. Okay? But seriously, that's the way it's got to be. That's how hardcore we have to be on this. This cannot be allowed. If this is allowed, then forget about it. Life in this world is over with. Anyway,
on those notes, let me give you a list of. I'm not going to be able to read this whole list, but I want you to think about this. This is in my book, Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam. It's in the back of the book on page 177. Following the launch of Campus Watch on September 18, 2002, the site received 200 emails from faculty and graduate students requesting to be listed in solidarity with academics that were identified as apologists for suicide bombings and militant Islam listed on the site. Most of the writers are academics from the fields other than Middle East studies, and so are not qualified to judge the work of academics that are listed. A few of them address the concerns and problems listed by Campus Watch on its homepage. Still, the fact that these individuals insist on declaring solidarity in the public with academics that Campus Watch has identified as apologists for Palestinian Islamic violence is important information for university stakeholders to be aware of. Let me read a few of these lists. Janine Abushi, Assistant Professor, Department of Middle East Studies, New York University. Thomas Aboud, Assistant Professor, Department of Anthropology, Temple University. Jana Das, Professor, Department of Visual and Performing Arts, Rutgers University. Amimo, A-M-M-I-E-L, Amil Al-Khaleh, Professor, Classical, Middle Eastern, and Asian Languages, Queens College, that's New York City. Yali Amit, Professor, Department of Statistics of Computer Science, University of Chicago. Zalman Amit, Professor, Psychology Department, Concordia University, Montreal, Canada. Linda Hamans, Associate Professor, Department of Anthropology, Assumption College. Margaret Lavinia Anderson, Professor, Political Science Department, UC Berkeley. Benjamin Baylock, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Rollins College. Alexandra Barron, Assistant Instructor, English Department, University of Texas at Austin. I've got 200 people on this list. And this is a list compiled by the Middle East Forum. It's compiled on the Campus Watch site. The article is a decade old. 2 decades old almost. Think about that. How many people have they taught hatred of Jews? Ruth Ann Baumgartner, Professor, English Department, Fairfield University. Anita Barrows, Professor of Psychology, the Wright Institute. Robert Begg, Professor, Department of Geography and Regional Planning, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Lourdes Benaria, Professor, Department of Regional Planning and Women's Studies, Cornell University. Richard Bensel, Professor, Department of Government, Cornell University. Richard Berthold, Associate Professor, History Department, University of New Mexico. I hope there are colleges and universities listening. I say buy this book, you'll get the list. Go to Middle East Forum. Read Campus Watch. You'll find that list. It's free. Colleges and universities need to check out who they're hiring and get rid of the dregs that are misinforming our children. The pattern. It wasn't set in stone. It's sick. The endorsement of violence by the claim that people in Palestine are refugees. That's a lie from the pit of hell taught by the United Nations to the world. Why do I say it's a lie? Well, according to the United States and most other countries, refugees are people who have left their country. They're in another country and they fear returning. You caught that part. You had to leave. You had to fear returning. You had to fear of your life if you're in that country. So let's think about that. If you are in a Muslim place called, that is referred to as Palestine, or we'll call it the Gaza Strip, and you are still there, your parents were there, your grandfather was there, your grandmother was there, your great-grandparents were there, and you're still there, are you a refugee? No! Think about that. The United Nations is calling people who have never left their home refugees. They're allowing Hamas to teach children about killing Jews for kindergarten. Go to memory.org. You can find pictures of Hamas training of kindergartners with pretend guns and a show of how to kidnap or kill when these people who are learning this are only 4 and 5 and 6. This is the jihad they wish to wage. This is the horrible evils they wish to wage. Doesn't matter which country you're in today. I have proposed before a resolution, but I couldn't get through to one congressman or congresswoman with the balls, the cojones, whatever you want to say, to stand up and pass this. All it was a resolution that recognized that the Muslim Brotherhood here in the United States had declared war against the United States. If that resolution passed, it would force the alphabet soup agencies to act and close them because they are agents of subversion, agents that are acting for the purpose of sedition. Now, if other countries would recognize that the Muslim Brotherhood organizations within their own borders are attacking them for the purpose of sedition, how much better would the world be? I'm starting with agents of the Muslim Brotherhood. Why? It's the parents of Al-Qaeda, people. It's the parents of Hamas. Hamas is just a chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood. And what did they do? Hamas killed 40 babies. What is CARE? CARE is Hamas in America. Really? You want proof of that? You can go to my site. You can look at a lot of other information. There's books out there on Hamas. There's books out there on CARE being Hamas in America. Keep thinking about it. I suggest the book called The Muslim Mafia by David Galvitz. This is sick, sad stuff. We are allowing the parents of Al-Qaeda, the parents of Hamas, the parents of every single terrorist organization to operate in countries all around the world with the goal of subverting your country into a Sharia-run country. This is operating, yes, in India it is happening too. In Indonesia it is happening. In, you name the country. Sweden especially. Norway especially. Denmark, it's almost over. It's happening all around the world. Why? Because we stupidly allowed the Hijrah to take place. We had a president of the United States who encouraged jihad while he was running for office. We did not act to allow the stupid to keep out of office. We allowed things to go out of control here. In every country that's allowing the Hijrah to continue has allowed things to go out of control. Keep thinking about that. Everything I've shared came from the news today. The passages I shared came from the Quran, and the few passages I gave from the scripture. Think about this. I haven't left anything unproven. We've talked about the Hijrah. The one thing I did not mention, those three levels of, the levels of jihad. And I think that's incredibly important. I have a hard time getting through this because when I think about all the evil that's going on, it hurts. Let me just read a passage from Sharia. Who's obligated to fight in jihad? 09.4. Those called upon to perform jihad when it is a communal obligation are every able-bodied man who has reached puberty and is sane. 09.5. The following may not fight in jihad: someone in debt, unless his creditor gives him leave; someone with at least one Muslim parent until they give their permission, unless the Muslims are surrounded by the enemy, in which case it is permissible for them to fight without permission. 09.6. It is offensive to conduct a military expedition against hostile non-Muslims without the caliph's permission. But if there's no caliph, no permission is required. 9.7. 09.7. Muslims may not seek help from non-Muslim allies unless the Muslims are considered outnumbered and the allies are of goodwill towards the Muslims. Let's go back. The obligatory character of jihad. Jihad is a communal obligation. This is 09.1. When enough people perform it successfully to accomplish it, it is no longer obligatory upon others. So if you kill, following Sharia, you take over that land. This is what happened in Israel. It's not the first time. It's not the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And it will continue. Now, Muslims believe this will continue until the whole world is under Sharia. That's their belief structure. This is their law. They believe that we should be following it. That's why I'm doing the series on critical thinking versus Sharia. I can go on and read all of this. I would be here till 10 o'clock, and I don't plan on that. People, we have to wake up. We have to sound the alarm. Share out everything you can on the Hijrah. Share out everything you can on these people that are pushing these schools, pushing these things.
There's
Yes.
one thing. Did you mention, I did kind of join late, and I've been writing up a response. So, sorry. I mean, no, I've been paying attention. I just haven't been paying attention. Sorry. But no, did you bring up the treaty, the 10-year treaty? What's that called? The Hubadiah Treaty or something like that?
You're talking about the treaty that, you're not talking about the one that Muhammad did, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. The Muhammad one. It starts with an H. I can't remember the name. So basically, it's a treaty.
Hubadiah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can never
Hubadiah
pronounce
Treaty.
that name right.
Yeah, well, I can never pronounce any of the Arabic. I can't pronounce even English right, so that's not saying anything. But anyway, no. So the Hubadiah Treaty, and this is very important, because I'm getting to part of my rant that I'm going to publish soon. But the Hubadiah Treaty was a treaty that Muhammad made, for 10 years. It was supposed to be for 10 years, and the Muslims were really pissed at him. It was a treaty that he made with the Meccans, okay, because they were going to war with the Meccans, but they were outnumbered. If you recall correctly, they were totally outnumbered. They were surrounded because they wanted to go on a fake Hajj, and the Meccans were like, "No, you can't come here no more. You're done. We threw you out." And they're like, "Okay, we're going to do it anyway." And the Meccans surrounded them, and they were outnumbered, outmanned. And they were like, "Yeah, we're going to be." Muhammad was smart enough. He was not stupid. He was like, "Yeah, we're going to be wiped out here. So I better do something quick." So he came up with the Treaty of Hubadiah, right? Which is a 10-year treaty. There was supposed to be peace and war between each other, and there was all kinds of goofy stipulations to it. But the Muslims that followed him out there, they were pissed, like Abu Bakr and all the other hotheads. They're like, "You promised us war booty. You promised us we were going to take Mecca." And he's like, "No, this is a miracle. Actually, it's in the Quran that this is a miracle. You actually had a victory here against the Meccans." Because actually the Treaty of Hubadiah can be broken in 2 years, not 10 years. and you look for an excuse to break the treaty, and it could be anything from, let's say, in the treaty was, every time a Muslim came to your house, no green M&Ms could be in the candy dish. Well, if you had one green M&M in the candy dish, forget it. It's on. It's jihad now. You're going to war with you. You know what I mean? Something stupid like that.
Yes.
Anyway,
So this actually goes together with what you were saying. So I forgot that I did want to mention the former Hamas leader Khalid Mashal has called for.
Why is he still breathing? What does it mean to be a former Hamas leader? No, come on, this is the mafia. You're not former, okay? Why is he still breathing? Oh, by the way, fun fact, real quick, in case you didn't know this, every single Hamas leader, they're all multi-millionaires, and they don't live in Gaza.
Yes. Oh no, they live in Qatar.
They live in Qatar. They live in the rich, wealthy suburbs of Lebanon. Oh no, they're all over. All their children. They go to the most posh schools in Europe. Okay, these yeah. Anyway,
all right.
but
So let's
really
quick,
quick.
Get into this. Let's get.
Oh no, go ahead. Get into it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So former Hamas leader Khalid Mashal calls for Friday. The Al-Aqsa flood. Muslims should take to the streets worldwide, join the battle of the West. America, Zionists will see the convoys of Mujahideen on their way to Palestine. This is from October 10th show on TV. After Hamas political bureau chairman Khalid Mashal called on Muslims worldwide to join the battle in Israel on October 10th, 2023. And I'm going to play this clip. And there we go.
أن ننزل في الميادين والساحات والشارع العربي والإسلامي وعلى مدى الجاليات في كل مكان. هناك دعوة يوم الجمعة، جمعة طوفان الأقصى، وجهوا رسالة عبر الساحات والميادين، رسالة غضب أننا مع فلسطين، مع غزة، مع الأقصى، مع القدس، وأننا جزء من هذه المعركة. هذا أولا. ثانيا، غزة تستغيث بكم لنجدتها إغاثيا وماليا بكل ما تملكون. كل من يستطيع أن يقدم هذه لحظة الحقيقة. هذا جهاد بالمال كما يجاهدون بأنفسهم. قدموا لغزة ولمقاومتها ولأبطالها. هذه لحظة أن تنخرط الأمة في المعركة، أن نقاتل معهم. أنا أخاطب طبعا دول الطوق أولا، الأردن، سوريا، لبنان، مصر، كل أبنائها وبناتها رسميا وشعبيا. واجبكم أكبر لأنكم الأقرب إلى فلسطين. يا عشائر الأردن، يا أبناء الأردن، يا إخواني وأخواتي في الأردن، من كل جهاتكم واتجاهاتكم ومنابتكم الكريمة، هذه لحظة الحقيقة. الحدود قريبة منكم، كل يعرف مسؤوليته. هذا ينطبق على كل الشعوب. والله حين يرى العالم وأمريكا والغرب والصهاينة أن الأمة انتصرت للأقصى وقوافل المجاهدين بدأت تذهب لتريق دمها الزكي على أرض فلسطين، ستتغير ساحة المعركة، ستتغير موازين القوى.
Think about this. This is a call for bloodshed tomorrow. It is called by a Hamas operative. And again, think about the Hijrah to your location around the world.
Every major city, including Chicago. I mean, we're getting alerts on Citizen. I don't know if I'm going to go downtown tomorrow. I might. But it's supposed to be raining all day, so there probably won't be a show up. It's going to be ice cold rain. So there probably won't be. No, seriously, it's going to be nasty Chicago weather tomorrow. So there probably won't be much of a show up. So I probably won't go to film the mayhem and mischief. But no, in other places where there's warmer temperatures, oh yeah, we're gonna expect to see some stuff, dude. There's gonna be it's gonna be a mostly peaceful protest, and then at night, because they got BLM. BLM is looking to be relative again, so they got BLM involved and Antifa's involved. They're looking to be relative again, so it's gonna be a mostly peaceful protest. But then when the sun goes down and all the peaceful jihadis have gone home, you know, the ones that are shouting, Kai by Kaibar, all you Jews Muhammad's army is coming for you, or gas the Jews, gas the Jews. All those peaceful protesters, once they leave and go home, then it's going to be, the white supremacists suddenly have come out of the woodwork, and even though they're all black, have all of a sudden they're looting, pillaging, and plundering. No, you watch, that's what's going to happen. And somehow,
I don't know about them all
Trump
being
was there.
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know about them all being black because that's not what I saw here locally in Rochester. But yeah,
You watch. You watch.
yeah.
No.
Well,
I'm talking
here
about.
in Rochester, it was it was.
Well, no,
It might
I'm
have been
talking
called BLM, but there was.
in the major cities where BLM still has a force, where they riot, loot, pillage, and plunder. You watch. That's what's going to happen. Where they got strong black gang. Dude, you watch. That's what's going to happen. There's going to be rioting, looting, pillaging, and plundering.
Oh, I'm not
that may
doubting
go
that,
on
but I'm
to-
just
yeah.
not. I'm saying it's not going to be all be black. It's going to be because you have to remember the Palestinian type people of Arab descent are considered white.
Right, no, I understand that. Well, no, so they won't do anything. Actually, Arabs are not stupid. They're not going to pillage and plunder their own neighborhoods. Like in Dearborn, Michigan, they're not going to do that. They're just going to go home. Whatever. They might break a few windows at a mosque or a local Jewish store, whatever, on their way home. But I'm talking to major cities. You're going to watch. You're going to see the BLM and Antifa. They're going to come out either tomorrow night or maybe during the weekend or whatever later on. When police presence. In other words, this is what they do. They're going to do this, and somehow Trump supporters are going to be blamed for it again. MAGA hat wearers, yeah. Anyway, just saying. But yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell people, please watch the news. Please watch. I'm going to recommend a site called it calls itself Sweden News. I'm going to give you this link. I'm going to put it in the chat rooms. I'm going to tell people to subscribe to this, support them. This is a great site to find information about what's happening in Europe. It's a Sweden news site. I highly recommend it. I think it's worth subscribing to. I personally do subscribe to it. It's outstanding, a news source on the war. Yeah. One of their headlines right now on the Hamas war of terror. It says Netanyahu Hamas is and must be crushed. Hamas is Islamic State and must be crushed, just like the Islamic State, is what Netanyahu has said. Again, Islamic State was a baby of Al Qaeda. That makes the Muslim Brotherhood the parents, again, the grandparents. And think about this. I mean, Hamas proclaims in its charter that it is simply a chapter of the Muslim Brotherhood, and your local Muslim Brotherhood entities are operating freely in your part of the world. Please take a look at paulsutliff.blogspot.com, and you will look for the keyword resolution on the side, and see if you can take that and adjust it to your country to stop the Muslim Brotherhood from acting in your part of the world, because they are the ones bringing in and encouraging this hijrah, the pillaging of your local place. Think about it. God bless you all. This has been a tough topic. I want to be back on Sharia next week. Anybody's last words?
Yeah, like my name says, read, research, and question. And then, as my father would always love to say, you can't make friends with rattlesnakes. You can't shake hands with snakes. So you don't know where the poison's coming from. So just be aware. Get knowledgeable. God bless.
Thank you. Sharon?
Yeah, well, thank you, Paul, for what you did today. I totally agree with Darcy, but I find people are rather lazy and don't do a lot of reading, researching, or even questioning. But I totally agree with her dad.
Yes. I think your dad's really smart. Rad, do you have any last words?
Well, I agree with Darcy's dad, except that I would use a rattlesnake to bite someone else I don't like. That's my own tradition. Yeah, just real quick on this, okay. Listen, Israel cannot lose this. Hamas cannot survive this. Hamas cannot survive this. Even in a spore of Hamas, it must be destroyed. So yes, you are going to see horrible images of Palestinian babies being blown up, women saying we can't feed our children because of the siege. Yeah, well,
In the past, that when
that's
those things have been done, that has been a lot of that has been staged. So when
I
you're
understand
seeing
it's been
things like
staged.
that,
Yeah,
please be aware
that's not what
that
I'm
it
saying.
may be staged. I'm
I'm saying
saying
I
it'll
want
probably
that to
happen though.
happen. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. I'm
you're
saying I
saying it'll.
want that to happen. I want
Mm.
this to be a full siege because this is the only way. If Israel can do a full siege, and when these mothers that were celebrating and giving treats and candy again to celebrate this, not even Nazi Germany did this. I'm sorry, this is worse than Nazis. Anyway, my point being is this: Israel does not
Hitler got
have
his
to go
ideas
into
from that as
Gaza.
well.
Israel just needs to contain Gaza and cut off everything. Okay? And eventually you will starve them out. And eventually, because any pressure that is put on Israel to lift the siege, hey, all Hamas has to do is lay down their weapons and surrender unconditionally. In other words, unconditional surrender, just like we had it for Nazi Germany, just like we had for Tojo Japan. Unconditional surrender. Okay? Because that is the only way. And then we have a trial for these Hamasiites, these Hamas leaders that were living it up in Qatar and in Lebanon, okay, where they signed off on this crap. They have trials in Israel, and then you don't have to publicly execute them, but they are executed. Okay, this can never happen again. This honestly, because if you force Israel to sign another fake peace treaty, okay, fine, we'll turn on the water and the heat. We'll release the Palestinian prisoners that we have. We'll do all this. Just don't fire rockets at us. They're going to fire rockets at them the next day. You
They
know this
will.
is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they will.
No.
So
If you
yeah,
want to free
my
Palestine,
solution
free
is
them
very
from
much
Hamas.
yours, Red. I say I mean I would advise Israel to do exactly what they've done, which is cut off their electricity.
You know?
Because as they cut off, now think about this. Israel is providing their electricity. Why I do not understand when this kind of stuff
Yep.
happens. That means their internet is provided solely by Israel. That means you think about all this entails. Okay. Food. Where do you think a lot of their food comes from? Keep thinking, people. Where do you
Comes
think
from
a lot
Israel.
of even the purified water? Where do you think it comes from? Israel.
Comes from Israel.
Isn't it?
So if they don't have those things, if Israel stops being beautiful and kind and espousing their belief that life, Israel has a belief that all life is important.
Oh, I
Now,
thought I saved it. I thought I saved it on my Twitter timeline,
yeah,
but I did. But let
where
me just tell you.
Islam
Hold on.
teaches that, Islam teaches that they love death more than we love life.
Okay.
If they could survive that.
Well, okay, so there's a video clip on there. It's on MERMR, whatever. It's being circulated on the Twitter sphere. Okay, but here's the thing: this is a real Hamas leader. Well, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or whatever frick his name is. He's a real Hamas leader. But no, this is one of the active Hamas leaders. He's talking about how this thing was planned, how it was carried out. He actually says, "Get this." For the past 5 years, while Israel thought that we we Hamas were busy governing Gaza, while we lured them into this thinking that we were too busy just doing governance, providing government to the people of Gaza, we were actually preparing for this attack. We were digging up the sewer lines. We were digging up the water lines. We were making rockets. We were diverting cement. You know, in other words, that's the most shocking thing, is he actually admits we were not governing our own people. Instead, we let them live in squalor. We let them live in poverty. We provided no social benefits for them. Our main goal was this attack, and that was to kill, just kill for killing's sake, to kill Jews. And that was it. That was their main goal. And these are supposed to be the resistance. What? They're resisting. And he actually says, too, he actually gives a standard, like, we love death more than they love life. Okay. Then die. Seriously, I do not understand this concept. How are you bragging to me? How is this supposed to be something I'm supposed to respect? You love death? That's supposed to scare me? No, that just makes me want to kill you, because killing you is really freaking easy. Okay? Come on, line up. Fine, no problem, you moron. Okay?
Well,
Anyway, that's the end of my
yeah.
rant. Sorry to ruin the show, but yeah,
All right.
no, these people.
Okay. Yeah. So I just want to point out that this is the link that Rad had pointed out. The current senior Hamas official, Ali Baraka, we've been secretly planning the invasion for 2 years. Russia sympathizes with us. I will tell you, from my own research, I don't necessarily believe that to be true. So I do think there are elements within Russia, but I do not think that Putin is in agreement with this. I have my own thoughts, and I have no verification of this, but it just doesn't settle with me with what I know right now. So pay attention, watch, and I say watch memory. God bless you all. Thank you for hanging out this late. I don't normally do a show this late. God bless everybody. Thank you.
God bless.